Y'all see these? Y'all know what these are? That's them Christmas trees. Them Christmas trees are good, man. My favorite part about Christmas is when the Little Debbie Christmas trees come out. My not favorite part about Christmas is the fact that it's cold and it's really aggravating for soft washing and pressure washing guys in the industry. Oh, you see what I did there? Segued it from the Christmas tree over. So the purpose of this video is talking about winterizing your system. Now, we live in Alabama. We're kind of in lower Alabama, so really we don't get very many days at all where it gets significantly below freezing. We may get some nights that are 30 degrees, 33 degrees, somewhere in there. Typically at those temperatures, you're not gonna have a lot of issues. Although we all know water does freeze at 32 degrees. Usually if it's in the, right there at 32 or above, it's not gonna be a problem. The problem is if you get down into the upper 20s or below that at night, you're gonna have some issues. So we're gonna go in here real quick and look at my truck and talk about winterizing. How do you take care of that? If you live in a colder climate or you're more north of us, then you gotta be careful with those systems. We had that skid go out Friday, which was yesterday. Today's Saturday. The guy called me this morning. He was saying, hey, my nozzles are leaking. What he meant was his wands were leaking. And he was assuming we had shipped him a skid that had broken parts on it. What happened was I went and looked at their forecast last night. They got into about 27, 28 degrees up there in North Alabama, and it cracked. So he's got to understand, and you've got to understand, and I have to take that into account as well where we live. Now, I've got a shop. I can put it inside, doesn't get that cold. But if your system's just sitting outside, it's water, right? So water freezes and expands, and a lot of our components are plastic or PVC. They have to be that so that the bleach won't eat them up. We can't make them out of metal. But the flip side of that is they are prone to freezing and busting and having issues if it freezes. So it's a really easy fix. Even if something does freeze and bust, it's typically going to be pretty easy to fix. The worst thing that can break on you is one of your blend manifold parts. And usually it's going to be the metering valve itself. It's kind of the weak link in the manifold as far as busting from freezing weather. So that's going to cost you about 28, 30 bucks. That's what those valves cost. So unfortunately, he's got a cracked valve and 2 cracked wands. Now the wands are easy fixes. He can go to the hardware store, spin off the ball valve, spin another one on, $3. He can go, and one of his risers was the gray stick. It was busted from freezing. Easy fix, literally like $2 at Home Depot. So that's no biggie. Be right back running in less than 5 minutes. But going forward, he's going to have to winterize his skid or put a heat lamp on it or do something to keep those temperatures from affecting it. So we'll pause the video. We're going to go in the shop and we'll fire it right back up and show you what I do for winterizing the truck that we have. All right, so if you don't winterize, probably where you're going to get a problem is either here, this can crack, these will crack. Again, if you're going to have a fail point, this is where you want it to happen because this is cheap and easy in 5 minutes to replace. Choking on my Christmas tree. So this may break, fix it, replace it, go on with life. But the way to winterize, come here and look. So our truck is basically the same thing as our skids or our trailers. It's just got the canopy over the top. Bleach tank is in the rear. That tank right there is water. This tank is surfactant. Now the surfactant in the bleach tanks, they're not going to freeze because they got chemicals in them. So they're not going to have any problems with freezing. What's going to freeze is the water tank or the lines coming from the water tank or anything associated with the water tank. So how do we fix that? We'll go over here to our manifold, okay, and we're going to cut, typically we're going to cut bleach off and soap off anyway and rinse the system out. And we're going to go ahead and cut off the water line. So all 3 lines are in the off position. Go back to our pump or our one. We're going to run it and let it force out as much water as possible out of the line. Now I'll usually just lay it down and try to drain out. Basically we're going to try to let the pump get as much water as possible out of the system. Once we do that, we drain our water tank as low as we can get it, and then we take some RV antifreeze or some windshield washer fluid. Any of that stuff will work because that has a much lower freezing point, and we're gonna put it in our water tank. Now we don't want the water tank to have 10 or 15 gallons of water in it because it's gonna dilute it down and it's not gonna work. If you can get your water tank down to almost empty and dump a few gallons of RV antifreeze or whatever, and then run that through the system until it comes out the wand, and you have winterized your system. So you've replaced the water and everything in the water lines, manifold, the line, the wand, all that stuff. Now instead of having residual water sitting in your system, you've got antifreeze or RV antifreeze or windshield washer fluid or whatever you decide to use that has a lower threshold for freezing, so your system's not going to bust on you. Really easy, shouldn't take more than a minute or two. Now where this can get aggravating is you live in one of those climates like kind of where we do, or North Alabama, North Georgia, where you get warm days, cold nights. So you're going to go try to do work tomorrow. You got to drain your tanks every night. You got to, do all this stuff. That's where it's easier to have a place to put it inside, or if you can't do that, put a heat lamp out there and have it shine directly on your manifold and your pump, and then just drain the system, get the water out, and that'll probably be fine. Again, if you're just getting down into 30 degrees, 31 degrees, you probably can drain it and get away with just doing the drain method. But if it's going to be down into the 20s at all, you really want to purge and put some coolant through there, some antifreeze coolant through it, so that the system has antifreeze and not water, and you won't have any problems.